one of the things that you said as far as like when you graduated, you was like, nobody trying to go back home. Life hack. Do not be ashamed to go back home and stack your coins with your parents.
Look.
Life hack.
Hey, can I cuss on the pod?
Do your thing.
Take your ass home, get you a job, save some money. Don't start paying rent until you can afford to pay rent.
Man.
Your life will be easier 6 months down the road.
Man, you will be a different person. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll feel like you rich. Like if I could go back and make the money that I was making at that particular time and just stay at home, dog, I would have been I would have been straight. So I had to let the people know, like, listen, don't be ashamed. I know you don't want to go back.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Armand back again with another episode of Big Boss Talk. Man, listen, I got a great recommendation from my guy Tevin. Man, Tevin is, as y'all know, as y'all seen the episode, Tevin is so dope, and I know he know dope people. And we got another dope person on the show, and it's crazy because I've never, ever talked to anybody that's really been in this type of role, profession, or career path, right? At the magnitude that he's doing it at. Tevin, when he recommended this person, he said, man, you gotta have this guy on the show because you can tell he is truly working in his calling or his purpose, and he has the gift. And I checked out the IG, I checked out a lot of the work, and I'm like, my man is cold. So listen, I got Alex Grant, age 28, career job. He's a digital video manager for the Carolina Panthers, all right? Keep pounding. College degree, broadcast journalism. He went to University of South Carolina. Years in profession, 10. So obviously, he's been in the game as far as digital videography for a long time. He knows what he's been doing. He probably knows his camera frontwards, backwards, inside and out. He does not have to read the manual anymore, which is good. Me, I still kind of got to look at the manual, like what's aperture and all that kind of good stuff. So,
hey man, I Google my way through everything just like everybody else.
Yeah, you got to Google everything. But man, Alex, say what's up to the podcast, man.
What's good, y'all? First and foremost, appreciate you having me. Thank you for having me on the pod. Shout out to Tevin. Tevin is, for those of y'all who don't know, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Tevin is my ace. And so no one will ever gas me the way that Tev gasses me. So appreciate Tev for putting me on, man. Excited to be here.
Man, that's dope, man, for sure, man. But listen, Alex, everybody knows when they listen or they hear Big Boss Talk, the podcast, they're going to get two truths and a lie, the icebreaker. So if y'all don't know, Alex really just made these up on the fly. If he goes in the order that he told it, he was like truth, lie, lie. So if he go with
I got it written down on my phone right now so I don't forget.
You know what I'm saying? So listen, I'm going to try to get him and see what we can do. So Alex, let's hear those two truths and a lie.
All right, so I don't own my own camera.
Okay.
I have never been to a game as a fan.
Okay.
And I've seen every episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Whoa, that is tough. Hold up. My man, that's tough. Okay, so you say you don't own your own camera.
Never been to a game as a fan.
Never been to a game.
And I've seen every episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Seen the episode of Grey's Anatomy. Dang. All right, so look, I'm going to say the first one is definitely, I think that's a lie. And the only one, because I'm like, you 10 years in, like, you don't own one camera? You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to practice freelance on your own. But see, that could throw me off, right? You never could have. Everything you probably could have been school related. They lend you a camera. Then you hop out into the work field. They give you a camera. So who knows? I'm going to keep pondering on that one. Been to the game as a fan. I think that's true. I think you work with the Carolina Panthers. I just don't think you've been to the game as a fan, like sat in there was like, let's go, you know what I'm saying? And then the last one was, what was the last one?
Seen every episode of Grey's Anatomy.
I think that's true. Grey's Anatomy is a great show. Great show. After this, once I guess, you got to tell me who your favorite character is. But man, I'm gonna say the only dang, bro. I'm gonna say going to the Carolina game as a fan is the lie.
So that's actually true. So I'm originally from Columbia, South Carolina. My family lived in Charlotte for 5 years growing up, and so my dad would take me and my brother to games. And so I do like, I was real young at the time. Like I couldn't have been, I was third grade when we moved, so I was like young, but like I still do have some memories of coming to Bank of America Stadium and going to Panthers games.
Man, okay, so that's true. I think I know the lie. What's the lie?
So the lie is, let me look.
It got to be the camera. It got to be.
The lie is I do own my own camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say that has to be the line, but I should have went with my first gut. Dang, Alex done came on the show and got me.
I thought I was gonna get you on the Grays question.
Oh no! See, Grays. A lot of people, you'll be surprised who watch Grays and who don't. So I don't never sleep on that.
Dudes don't be wanting to admit that they watch Grays, bro. I ain't missed an episode, dog. I've seen it all on Netflix, all the current stuff. When I thought Meredith was about to get on up out of here, boy, y'all had me praying.
My boy said he had me praying. So who your favorite character on Grey's Anatomy? Who you like?
I'm a OG Miranda Bailey fan, dog.
Okay.
Like, anytime she come in the room, she get everybody together. Everybody got an auntie like Miranda Bailey.
Yeah, she's setting it off every time. Do not play. Okay, cool. So you told us about going to the Carolina Panthers game as a fan, but when did you pick up your first camera?
So let my parents tell it. I picked up my first camera when I was a little kid, maybe late elementary school, early middle school. They got me like this little small video camera, just like to play with as a kid. And let them tell it now. My dad will be like, well, I was just planting the seed for when you got older. But actually, like my first time seriously picking up a camera and, learning what to do and how to use it. Yeah. My high school, shout out Richland Northeast High School in Columbia, has a really good magnet program where we learned how to use cameras and how to tell stories visually. So I think it might have been my 9th grade year was the first time like I seriously picked up a camera and started putting some content together.
Man, that's dope. Man, that's too dope. And we're going to get into that, right? We're going to get into the content and what you really enjoy about it. But I always, as far as like, because I always let people know this podcast is very informative, but it's also good to hear people's stories and shine light on people's stories so people can understand there's great people everywhere besides your inner circle, right? So what did you, growing up, what did you want to be? Did you always know you want to be a videographer or a photographer? Like, what was your mindset?
I don't think I had an appreciation that like this was something that I wanted to do until I got to high school. Growing up, my dad was in banking my entire life, and so it was just kind of understood that like, oh, like maybe I'll grow up and like go into finance and stuff like that, like what he was doing. He had his own company, and so my brother works with him as well now, and so it's just kind of like, oh, he's gonna be just like his dad. He's gonna go into banking, and then would hang around him in the office sometimes, and like. Honestly, like, I'm not a numbers guy. I will tell you, I'm known for a long time. That's not my ministry. That's not my calling.
That's not it.
And so when I got to high school, I just really kind of wanted to try out this journalism magnet program that we had at Richland Northeast, and kind of went all in on that and found out that this was something I loved and realized, this is something that people make careers out of. Initially, I wanted to, get into news and be like a local reporter. But then got to college and realized, sports was a little bit more my lane, and started working with the athletic department at USC and realized that, like, being a full-time video producer for a sports team is a real thing. And saw all the fun that I was having doing that, and was learning a lot, and decided this was kind of the path that I wanted to go down.
Man, that's dope, man. So, I mean, what did your pops think? What did your family think as far as like, because obviously you growing, you was like, or maybe I can go into the banking thing, but then you figured out numbers wasn't it. But then you tried out the magnet program in high school with the camera, and you just it kind of just started to click, right? Everything started to roll. But when you told your parents like, hey, this is what I want to do, like, did they have any type of withdrawals? Were they like, hey, are you gonna be able to, you know what I'm saying, like support? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't know. Like, there's generations that don't think being a creative like you are, you know, will pay you and you can sustain a good life.
Yeah, I think they're definitely, you know, my parents were understanding from the jump.
Okay.
They knew that, you know, this was something that I was passionate about and could tell early on that this wasn't just something that, you know, I was just going to do for a couple of years while I was in school. This is something that I really enjoyed and that I had a talent in.
Yeah.
Now, as I got older and, you know, kind of slipped more away from the news side and into sports and, you know, into being a full-time creative for a team, especially like right after school, it was kind of like those couple months of, I don't know, like, you know, really have a job. You're more than welcome to stay at the house, but like, you know, everybody want to get out of their parents' house after they get out of school. And so I was fortunate enough to actually get a job after came back and worked for USC. But my family was supportive from the jump, man, and still are today. My dad reinvents what my title is every time he tells somebody that I work for the Panthers. I mean, somebody called me the other day and said my daddy told them I was like the vice president of digital imaging. I was like, what does that even mean, yo? Like,
Pops is like, yo, he the CEO.
Like, and like I tell him all the time, like, yo, I make videos. Like, it's really not that deep.
Brother, that's funny, but it's Pops is just like, nah, my son.
Like, you know, like, black folk love to gas something, man.
Gas anything. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Okay, so cool.
So Pops and everybody was real, you know, they were supportive. They, you know, they knew this was your thing. What was it about the camera though? Like, what stuck out to you about camera? Like, what made you really fall in love with this career? Because to me, I love it, and the thing about it is I've had a camera at a very early age too, and I love how you can make people feel by putting a project together, right? You know what I'm saying? You could take people through crazy emotions by getting a certain angle, a certain cut, and then you add, you know, music over the top, you know, and get that rush and that feeling. What is it for you that, you know, you were just like, you know, this is what I want to do. Like, I really love it.
Yeah, I actually kind of fell in love with the editing process at first before, you know, I really got into shooting. My freshman year of high school, like I said, when I first started working in video, my grandfather also passed that year. And so I remember, like, I made this this kind of video slideshow with like a bunch of pictures and some videos and some music behind it. And like looking back on it, the video is like super simple. It's nothing fancy at all.
Right.
But I remember like they showed it at his funeral and just like I remember people like saying how it made them feel and like the emotions behind it. And like that was the first time I ever remember something like people having an emotional response to something that I created.
Yeah.
And I really fell in love with that. Like when I go back to like the heart of it and like, you know, making videos is cool, shooting sports is cool, but like at the end of the day, I want people to feel an emotion. I don't ever want someone to feel like they're watching something. I want them to feel like they're in it.
Yeah.
And that's what I originally fell in love with, and that's kind of what has sustained me for the last couple of years. And you know, my goal is always to make sure that people feel something when they watch something I've created.
Man, that is dope, man. I resonate with that so much just because I always was a fan of highlight, like, because I played football and working. I know what a highlight tape would do. I know what, you know, especially when I watched, you know, USC follow the Instagram and those guys getting ready for football or the girls getting ready for basketball and they getting hyped up and it's just like the energy. It make you want to go to a game. It's like, man, we got to see them. Even though USC ain't been hitting on nothing in the past couple of years, but
hey man, look,
the hype videos be wanting me to be like, let's go.
I just finished watching the parade for our national champion women's basketball team, and I'm gonna stick to that.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick to that. Yeah, I love.
Shout out Don Staley.
Yeah, shout out to Don Staley. I love Staley.
But man, that's dope, man. Just to be able to feel that emotional connection to that piece and just being able for it to resonate with you at an early age and you to be able to follow through with it. That's super huge. But I do want to piggyback on one of the things that you said as far as like when you graduated, it was like, you know, nobody trying to go back home. Life hack. Do not be ashamed to go back home and stack your coins with your parents.
Look.
Life hack.
Can I cuss on the pod?
Do your thing.
Take your ass home, get you a job, save some money. Don't start paying rent until you can afford to pay rent.
Man.
Your life will be easier 6 months down the road.
Man, you will be a different person. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll feel like you rich. Like if I could go back and make the money that I was making at that particular time and just stay at home, dog, I would have been I would have been straight. So I had to let the people know, like, listen, don't be ashamed. I know you don't want to go back. And
it's so crazy how life works too. And like I always tell people when they're about to graduate, like regardless, you're gonna hit the post-grad slump. Like you're gonna hit a post-grad depression where like you may not necessarily know what you got going on. You may not necessarily have a job lined up. You back in your parents' house. You like, what did I just spend the last 4 or 5 years of my life working towards?
Facts.
You're gonna get in your head and you're gonna get frustrated. Don't let that get to you. Just like stay the course, keep applying places.
Yeah.
I'd applied to a bunch of jobs, both in news and in sports, and hadn't heard nothing back. And then my old boss, who I interned with at athletics, hit me up right before the start of football season and was like, hey, like if you still in town, you don't have anything going on, you can come back and work part-time. And bro, I did everything that I could possibly. I was stocking the refrigerator in the office and leaving. Going from that to go get on the bus and go shoot the football game 6-7 hours away.
Yeah.
Like just trying to get into as much as I could. But like at the end of the day, it really, really worked out in my favor and kind of became like the catalyst for the rest of my career because you know, me just being there, I ended up picking up basketball, and that was the year we won the first national championship in 2017.
Yep.
And that kind of set me up for the rest of my 3 years there full time.
Man, that's huge, man. And you touched on the next question I was actually going to go into is just like, how did you, after going through that slump, right? I know the mindset. I talked to a lot of people, and they all talk about that mindset or that slump after they graduate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to, you spent 4 to 5 years and you expect, like you deserve, your mindset is you deserve a job right out of college. You know what I'm saying? But you don't understand that it's hard. It's really hard to figure out, to get a job in your degree, unless you're like a doctor, a specific, right? Doctor, lawyer, those type specific type jobs. But if you journalism major, mass communications major, sports health, I mean it's too broad, and it's like you don't know really where you want to go unless you have that passion for something, and you just feel like I know I can do this. So you talked about you said an old teacher or
counselor? So when I interned at athletics from 2013 through when I graduated in 16. Mm-hmm. And my old boss hit me up and was just like, hey, like if you're still around, he knew I was from Columbia. It was like, if you're still around, you're more than welcome to come and we'll put you on a part-time position.
How long did you do that?
So I did it for almost a full year. So I came back right before the start of football season, did all of football season, and then picked up basketball as women's basketball was getting started with the preseason, and did all of women's basketball season, and then went to the SEC tournament with them that year, and then ended up going on all of the NCAA run. So we did the round of 64 and 32 at home. Mm-hmm. We went out to Stockton, California for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 that year, and then national championship in Dallas, and came back from the Natty. We did the parade, State House tour, all of that. And then a couple of weeks later had a full-time offer. So it all worked out.
Man, that's crazy. So listen, everybody listening is like, even me, I look at the IG, I'm like, man, this dude traveling, he doing everything that I would want to do. And he taking pictures, making dope content. But please tell people, because I've been in your shoes as a mass communications major when I had to have a camera and record volleyball games, I had to do football games late at night. There's a lot of work behind what you do. Please elaborate on just how hard it is and some of the things that people don't realize.
It's really like I'm going to preface by saying this. I am incredibly grateful for what I do, and I would not trade anything in the world. And I know that like, it is a blessing and a privilege to be here and to get to do what I do and get to see what I see and go where I go. However, it is a massive massive commitment and sacrifice. My old boss told me when I first got into the business that sports are always going to be on nights, weekends, and holidays. And so if you're not willing to sacrifice those, it's in the industry for you. And so like it's during, especially now that I'm in the NFL, dude, I legit like during the season, I work 6.5, 7 days a week, most weeks. Like the grind does not stop. And even when you're at home and when you're off, you're not really off. And it's been interesting as I go through my first year in the league, just seeing how the league schedule is different from what the college schedule was. And like with free agency, and you got to have the group, you got to have the group chat notifications on in case we start making a move. You got to have Adam Schefter's Twitter notifications on in case he knows something that we don't know. Like there's just all kind of different moving pieces to it, and there's never really a ton of downtime. So that's the one sacrifice of it. And then also you just naturally don't get to be around your friends as much, don't get to be around family as much. One of the reasons why I was so excited that the Panthers had this opportunity for me to come and be closer to home was so that I can, have the opportunity to be around family a little bit more where, if I've got half a day and I know I don't have anything I'm going to be doing during half a day, it's nothing for me to drive an hour and a half and go home and come back versus when I was in Maryland and I had to book a flight or drive 8 hours or something like that. So it's definitely a huge sacrifice. Spent a lot of my life on planes and buses. And, when I was at USC, I was editing a TV show. I did the coach for football TV show. And so we would get up in the morning, go do a game, shoot the game, get on the bus and fly home. And I'm editing on the bus to the airport. I'm editing on the plane. I'm editing on the bus from the plane back to campus, and then spend an hour exporting the show and uploading the show when we get back. And, we may have played that night at 8 o'clock and it'll be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm leaving and turn around and be in the office again on Monday.
Bro, I believe it. And the only reason why I know is because I've been there as far as like I had to shadow and pick up the camera. And I was just like, man, this is a lot. Like, and depending on the sport, it's very long. Like, I'm going to tell you, like, to me, volleyball is a very long sport. Soccer is long. But I guess
I'll tell you the one though, yo.
Which one?
I respect any creative that does it. You can't get me to touch baseball, dog.
Oh no.
Baseball, you will be there all
day, bro. And then don't let it extend after 9 innings. Oh my!
Don't let it rain.
Bro, I can't do baseball. I sat in on some baseball games too. We had to go to Furman and I had a little internship at Furman, and I used to do all day sports, and baseball was my least favorite. You know what I'm saying? And I understand exactly what you mean. So it's crazy to hear that, but I always want to tell people, like when they listen, like, of course the job, when you looking at it, it looks fun. You doing a lot, you traveling. But there's a lot of on the back end that people don't realize. The sacrifice that you talked about as far as time and family. If you get homesick, this ain't for you. If you need to see your mama and daddy all the time, this ain't for you. And it's just like, and I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's gonna be some part of you. You eventually you'll start to force yourself to say, I gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying? Because you really want to stay at home, or you really want more time at home. Do you ever suffer with that at all? I mean, as you go through life and you start to build relationships or whatever. I don't know the situation, but do you feel like eventually you have to slow down, or you feel like you in it for the long haul?
So this is kind of uncharted territory, I guess. There's multiple components to it, but I think more than anything, burnout is real. Anybody that tells you that they don't get burned out is lying to you. And so it definitely gets to you. There's definitely days where, you don't necessarily want to get up, or you don't necessarily feel like getting on a plane. And especially if the season's not going the way you want it to go. And it's like, do we really want to get up and go all the way out here for this not to go the way we think it's going to go? But at the end of the day, that's why it's important for you to actually have a passion for what you're doing, and, for you to enjoy it. And for me, I try to take every time I go out to shoot as an opportunity for me to learn something new and get better. And so I try to be serious about that, and, take every opportunity to shoot as a blessing. And so I don't ever want to run out of those opportunities or not appreciate them when I have them. The other piece of it too is it's really important for you to be part of a team that you enjoy being around. I see my coworkers more than I see my family. I see them more than I see my friends most times. And so like we are kind of a family in and of ourselves. And so we kind of have to enjoy spending time around each other because we spend so much time together. And so that's important as well. But also having family and friends who are supportive of you and understand the time commitment. I'm so grateful for my circle, dude. Like I know I have so many friends in the industry who their families and their friends don't get this part of it. But I'm so grateful that like my circle understands that, you know, it's not that I don't want to be there. Right. It's that, you know, this is something that I've committed myself to. And for the time that I'm doing it, I want to be all in and be as good as I can. And so they understand that and they don't hold that against me. But also, I think they understand the value of time a lot more. And so if I can be somewhere or if I can be part of something, like they understand the commitment that it took, one, for me to get there. But it took for me to get there, but also like an appreciation for me actually being there. And like, and that's not to, that sounds like I'm like, oh, my time is super valuable. And like, I mean, I make videos for sports teams. I'm not saving lives. I'm not running a country or anything like that. But it means a lot to have people close to me who understand that I can't always be where I want to be. And so they understand the value that I place on being able to be part of things and making an effort to be there. And then it feels good for them to also value me being there and value my time as well.
Man, I understand that wholeheartedly, man. That's important to have a strong support system, man. I can't, be grateful enough. I got a great support system as far as like with the podcast, just working a 9 to 5 and then saying like, hey, I got to come in, get everything set up and just really give energy to the podcast and energy to people that I talk with. But my wife, Maya, I'm pretty sure you know her, but she is, she allows me, she gives me that space, that time to really do what I need to do, and she doesn't, really bother me or anything. So that's huge. I know I probably.
She gets it too, man. Look, we have some classes together. She know the grind too.
yeah. So it's crazy, and she used to tell me about when she used to have to go to the games. It was like the worst part. You lugging this big camera around, and heavy equipment. But I do want to ask you.
Why people got it in their head that if you work in the game, that you got a good parking spot, that you can right in. Like, nah, bro.
Nah.
You probably got to walk further just because you got a guaranteed spot somewhere.
Exactly. So, but I did want to ask you, and this is for me being a tech, like I love, technology. I love cameras, video. I love it all. So I want to ask you, one, what software do y'all use to, edit videos? Two, what type of camera do you use? Because those cameras are crazy. And then just number 3, what type of computer do y'all use to kind of, because I know you talk about upload, download, editing, like you got to have a nice amount of RAM, memory in there, because I hate getting the message, your disk is full. And I'm like,
I only uploaded 3 videos.
And normally it only comes when you're trying to do something in a rush and you need to do something quickly. Then that's when your disk is going to be full.
Facts. So what do you use and like what's your favorite to use?
So I'll start with cameras right now at the Panthers. We are shooting games primarily on Alexa Ari's. And so, or Ari Alexa, excuse me. And so we're shooting most of our games on those. We've got a couple of Ronins for some DSLRs. We have a few A7S's and some Panasonic Lumix cameras that we can put on Ronins as well. And we're shooting mostly on Canon and Fujinon glass.
Okay.
And so we've got an assortment of lenses for those. And then editing wise, we're in the Adobe Creative Cloud. And so After Effects, Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom, all of that. The beautiful thing about those is they all work together pretty seamlessly. And so if I create a graphic in After Effects, it's going to work in Premiere. If I create something in Photoshop, I can update it in real time and the file will update in Premiere. I don't have to worry about re-importing it. So that works really well. And then from a hardware standpoint, right now my desktop is a PC. And then my laptop is a MacBook Pro. And so for anytime we're going on the road or like when I'm at Pro Bowl or something like that, I take my laptop and I'm editing everything off of a hard drive there. And then when we get back to Charlotte, I'll just take the the root folder where all the footage and all the projects and stuff are, make sure it gets archived properly on our server.
Man, that's dope. And for a lot of people probably heard that and they like, what in the world? But as far as, you know, for the beginners, right? I want to, you know, really talk to people that may have interest in this. What would you suggest, you know, for someone that wants to, and we haven't even gone into actually what you, we kind of know what you do, but you know, on a day-to-day basis, as far as like what your schedule kind of looks like every single day, we haven't gone into that. But let's just say somebody wants to pick up the camera. They want to start videoing. They want to start editing. I'm a Final Cut Pro. Shout out to y'all that use Adobe. It's too tricky for me. You can do a lot of things with different buttons, and it's hard to just keep everything all together. But Final Cut Pro is what I use. And then as far as camera, I got an old camera, Canon EOS Rebel T3i. It does the job for me. But for somebody that really wants to get into this production, you know, video, photography, whatever, what's a good camera you would recommend for somebody that's just starting off?
So my personal camera that my parents got me like right after high school was a Canon T5i. And I think that is, you know, Canon has done a really good job with that Rebel series for, you know, people who want to get into the industry, want to learn a little bit of photo, learn a little bit of video. The T5, T6, I'm not sure what the latest model is that they have of it now, but whatever is the next one in that series, they've done a really good job of making those accessible for people who want to get into the industry. Also would recommend, you know, the Sony A7S is really good for photo and video, especially I think the latest model does video at 120 frames a second, which is huge. And so if you're somebody who you're serious about it and you want to get into the field and just want to learn and have something to shoot and, you know, have something that you can YouTube and Google your way through, those are two great cameras.
Dope. And what makes you good at what you do? Like, why do you feel like the Panthers said, man, we need Alex Grant on our team? Like, what makes you great, or what type of attention to detail do you have that makes your content what it is?
I don't know that it's necessarily anything specifically that I do outside of kind of what I just said earlier. When you watch something that I've created, I really want you to feel like you were in it. I don't want you to think you just watched something. Mm-hmm. So like even before I got to the Panthers, when I was at Maryland or when I was at South Carolina, I really want to kind of put fans in whatever environment I was in when I was shooting. Mm-hmm. So whether that's, you know, we would do these mic'd up videos when I was at Maryland with all the assistant coaches, and, you know, normally like in a traditional mic'd up series that you see, you know, it's a camera somewhere kind of far off and they're zoomed super tight in on whoever's talking while they're walking around the field. And when I did these, I mean, again, the goal is to make people feel like they're in it. So like I had our tight ends coach mic'd up and I'm standing right next to him. When the horn blows and we're going in between periods of practice, I'm sprinting with him.
That's crazy.
So I really want people to feel like they're in something, because it's gonna look different from what a lot of the other people are doing. Mm-hmm. And then two, you have a better appreciation for the vantage point of the subject. Mm-hmm. And so it's not something where, you know, it's super far off and it's this super polished shot, and then, you know, you got the really nice zoom in and they smile at just the right time. No, you feel like you're standing, if you're one of the players, I'm standing next to them while he's talking to them in the huddle. So you just feel like you're one of them. You feel like you're in it versus you're watching something, which at the end of the day feels more authentic. You're just seeing something versus feeling like you're being sold something or feeling like you're being told to look at something.
Yeah, that's that raw, uncut. And I mean, pretty much what you explained is the art that you have behind it. All of this is nothing but art. You know, how you view something, how you feel is going to grab people's attention. Nobody can really tell you, you know, how to create your art. I mean, you use a baseline of like what to do and what not to do, right? But when it comes down to just the footage and just the angles, you know, that's you know, as a person. I will say, man, you know, you have a great mind for the art of what you do. And I hope people that really watch and they look, you know, we're going to tag the IG and hopefully they can just get a appreciation for what you do, you know, day in and day out. So, like I said, it's just art. If somebody wants to get on a professional team, give them the best way. Is it more or less, can they do something as far as intern, or is it kind of, it's who you know, not what you know. Like, what's that situation like? Because so many times, I actually had a guy back home who wanted to kind of do something similar, but he just wasn't hearing, getting the right answer. They just wasn't following up, right? And I know the positions, are minimum, but how can, what can someone do to get a head start?
Well, in the NFL, and I'll preface all this by saying, I'm still 10 months into my first year in the NFL, and I've been in the game for 10 years. And so the NFL is a different beast at the end of the day because there are only 32 teams. There's hundreds of college programs around the country, but when you start talking about the NFL, you got 32 options and 32 different places where you can do this. And so it's a very small sample size. And it's also only made harder by the pandemic where, access isn't necessarily what it used to be. I think people just kind of assume that, during the pandemic, even though we had all these COVID protocols, if you worked for the team, you could be around the players however much you want. I mean, that realistically wasn't the case. We had during the season, we had X number of positions where X number of people were allowed to be around the players on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And so I was not shooting practice nearly as much as I would have wanted to, or I was not in what we consider the red line area as much as you may want to or need to be, just based on what the health and safety protocols were at the time. And so when that extends to the full-time staff, obviously that affects, if we're going to have interns or if we're going to have other people who can come in and help us out, all of that gets affected. And so I really don't necessarily know how to answer this question going forward, just because we're kind of going into uncharted territory right now. Yeah. In theory, hopefully, we are starting to make some progress in the pandemic where we're getting to a place where we can move past some of the protocols that were put in place. Yeah. And we can start to have more people around, and if we need outside help, we can bring in outside help, or we can bring in people to come in an intern status. But I know it's a lot easier. I will say it is definitely a lot easier to work your way in at the college and university level, especially if you're a student somewhere. Okay. So every college football team around the country has to recruit. Yeah. Every college football team around the country is trying to have better content than the other team because they're trying to sell their university. Yeah. That's where you get your growing pains out. That's where you learn how to make good graphics and not just any graphics. That's where you learn how to make good videos and not just any videos. Try to get involved. If you're a student somewhere, try to get involved with your local athletic department or with the football team, basketball team, and see what kind of help they may need. And unfortunately, it may be an unpaid opportunity when you first start out, but that's where, you kind of prove your worth and you prove that, you deserve to be there and create a reason to make them think you need to be there. And then, the market will compensate you for it.
No doubt, man. We coming to the end, man. It's been a great conversation so far. I've learned a lot. I think people that will listen to this will learn a lot about what you do and just how much of a science it really is. How, it's like I said, it's an art, but it's science behind the art too. Because you're also being backed by a business that needs to, you guys have to produce day in and day out because you don't want to be left behind, or you don't want to, you don't want the competition to outdo you in any area or, with what you guys do. So one of my last questions is I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. Did you ever feel like you wanted to quit? Like, did you ever think that you would, you know what I'm saying? Like, was the goal to get to an NFL team, or did you ever feel like, man, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was or did you just love doing what it didn't matter where you were. You just love, but being at a professional team, like, was that a goal to be on a professional team? And like I said, during your journey, you've been doing this for 10 years and you just got to the NFL. So obviously for the people that think that this is overnight success, it's not. It's a lot of years work, sweat, just hours of standing up. And then you got into this beast of, the NFL and being a part of the Panthers. But was there any, in that 10-year time period, did you ever feel like this is not, like it's not going to be sufficient for me to do what I want to do?
The answer to the first question, to ever feel like I want to quit, absolutely. Okay. I think, if you don't, healthy or unhealthy, I think if you don't ever get to a point where you feel like you've taken on too much or you don't know what you're doing, or you feel like you're in a space that you may not necessarily be equipped to be in. If you never feel like that, then you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough to get into those spaces. So some of the best advice that I've ever gotten, that I challenge everyone else to do, is, find a way to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's how you continue to grow, and that's how you continue to learn. If you're in a situation where you know how to do everything, and you've mastered everything, then you're obviously not getting better, and there's always bigger and better to get to. And so that's when it's time to find your next space, and find what your next lane is, to have opportunity to grow. I definitely knew that I wanted to work in the NFL at some point. So this has been a career goal of mine for a while.
Dope.
And especially, once I started working in college athletics and getting to know a few people around the industry, you just have an appreciation for, there's not necessarily a lot of people who look like us doing what we do at the collegiate level, and definitely not in the NFL. There's a lot more now than what had been in the past. But, this year, the Panthers and the Cowboys have 2 African-American female team photographers. That's huge, but also how's it 2022 and that's just now happening?
Right.
And so this, I definitely this has been a career goal of mine for a long time. And so being here is an accomplishment, but also it's more than just being here and getting here. Is being successful here and having some kind of longevity. And, that's the piece that's hard. It has not been the easiest transition of my life, just being candid. The NFL is a lot different from the college space. At the end of the day, we're a business, and we got to make money, and we got to be able to be successful and have good content despite what may be happening on or off the field. And so it's definitely different. But also, I feel like I've grown more and pushed myself more in the last year than I have at any other point in my career. And so it's like I said earlier, man, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and learn to fall in love with the process of trying to learn something every day.
Man, that's hard, man. You just dropped the gems left and right for these folks, man. Listen, you gotta
I got beat up, so hopefully somebody else don't have to go through what I've been through.
Man, that's huge, man. You opening up doors for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Some people didn't know. A lot of kids didn't see themselves being that they could do that. But now you are a representation of what somebody that looks like us, black, brown, they can do this. You know what I'm saying? Because they thought maybe I couldn't do it because there wasn't a lot of us out there, but you are in the space. You guys, got the 2 black females in the space, and obviously we need more, and it's gonna be more, as we expand and really bring light to these careers and what people can do. But you dropped a lot of gems, man. Just being uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Like I really thrive on that, as far as just always wanting to grow, man. Like, don't be complacent. I always want to grow, get better. But don't rush the process either, because you have to learn a lot along the way. Those 10 years, you probably learned so much, man. That's helping you to this day. And keep going. Keep being great, man. I'm going to keep watching the content because I just like watching stuff like that. Carolina Panthers, that's the home team, so I'm always view the Carolina Panthers. The only thing we got left, man, is I got 6 questions, man. And you have to answer these questions in 5 seconds. I saw your face. You was like, not another 30 minutes. It was like 6 questions. You got to answer them in 5 seconds. 5 seconds or less. It's pretty little fun questions. Nothing too hard, nothing too crazy. And then after that, that's it. And then I would just need a recommendation, man, as far as somebody that you feel could fit the mold of the podcast, really, does something great. Maybe somebody you look up to, somebody you just really feel like, man, they're doing something great. And I'll let you, while we play the game, you can have the recommendation in mind. And all I ask is that you give me the way I can contact them, whether it's Instagram, email, or phone number. I'll reach out. You let them know. Say, hey, Armand, I just did his podcast, super dope, wasn't hard at all. If you want to, he's going to reach out to you. You can say yes or no. It doesn't matter. No pressure. But I did recommend you because I thought you would be dope.
If I recommend somebody, they better say yes.
That's the pressure, right? So here we go. All right. This is going to be too easy because I feel like you gave it away. But favorite TV show to binge watch?
Ooh. Yeah, I guess I kind of gotta go with Grays at this point.
Okay, you got a 1B. That's 1A. You got a
Um,
1B.
I will go back and watch any episode of Insecure at any point in time.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
The Insecure is dope. I wasn't the last season. It got good at the last 3 episodes. I say that like it got turned up. The last 3 episodes, man.
That's brilliant writing though, because they know going into it that everybody knows it's going to end. And so they're just going to string you along for this 7-episode ride or however many episodes it was.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff that we actually wanted to see is going to happen in the last 3 episodes.
Bro, that's crazy. I mean, now that you put it that way, that is great writing, like the suspense. But I guess for me, I was just like, nah, we need to get popping. It's the last season. I need to see Lawrence, but come on now.
No, it was crazy for me, though. It ended, and like, I wasn't mad at how it ended. Like, I actually like how everything closed out.
Yeah.
But the last scene, I was just like, bro, that's it. Like, that's it.
Word, that's it. And ain't no more coming back. So you got to live on that. That's it.
That's it.
Man, cool. Okay, so if you could time travel, what period would you go back to?
Ooh. I would go back to high school and start my glow up faster.
What do you mean? You got to explain that. What you mean?
I was nerdy as hell in high school. Like I could accept that now. Like I hadn't really found my own lane yet. Like I was ain't nothing wrong with marching band and student government and all of that. But like that was me. And like I didn't really have the swag to go with it or anything like that. It wasn't until like sophomore year of college that like I kind of came into my own personality a little bit. Like if I could go back to like 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Just give my like, hey, bro.
What would you do differently? What would you do differently?
This is where you need to start shopping.
Okay. This is where you need to start shopping.
This is who you need to start talking to. Go get you some glasses so you can actually see and stop looking crazy.
Bro, you are crazy, bro. Nah, that's for real though. I can understand that. Like for me, if I could go back, a lot of people say they'll go back in the 90s as an adult, right? So just go back to the 90s as an adult. But I don't know, man. Maybe I feel like I would probably do the same thing. It wouldn't be the glow up though. I feel like I would act a little bit, try to be a little bit more mature.
Oh yeah, like
you know what I'm saying?
One of the other things is I tell myself like, hey, bro, sit your ass down, pay attention in class. Like,
yeah, pay attention.
Your life is gonna be a lot easier if your GPA is higher.
Right. So it's just like I would definitely want to be more mature because it's some things that I probably said in the past that I ain't gonna say regret just because I can't take back for being me, but yeah. I probably would have said things a little bit differently or went about things a little bit differently. So I would definitely do that. But boy, you funny. He said, shop here, get some glasses so you can see, my boy.
Look, man. I got it together once I got to college, but high school, like looking back on some of my high school pictures, it's like, bro, what were you doing?
You crazy. Okay, so what's more memorable? Movies or music?
Ooh. I think music is probably more memorable because music can take you back to like a specific moment when you felt a specific thing more than anything else ever can.
Got you. So you don't feel that way. So it's funny because it's more people that say music, but I've also met people that say movies that do the exact same thing that music would do. And a lot of people that say music, they just like, I gotta actually pay attention to a movie. Music, I could just hit a beat and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And it just clicks.
I don't even really know how to explain it, dog. But music will just take you back to a specific time and place, like the Life of Pablo album from Kanye.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear Wolves, I go back to senior year at USC when I was pledging and driving on 277 at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning with all the windows down, blasting that song, just thinking about everything that I had been through. Like, I know any car that drove by me on the interstate at 4 o'clock in the morning and just heard Wolves blasting on 10 was like, what is this dude going through?
He going through something.
Just in a blank stare, just driving.
But that's crazy. I mean, music does do that, man. Like, I mean, that's That's funny, man. So what's something slash activity that you can do every day besides sleep?
I could make an hour to watch TikToks every day.
You get in a rabbit hole?
No, I don't even necessarily consider it a rabbit hole. Like I will just like that's kind of my me time. Like when I've decided I'm gonna sit down and like I want an hour to just sit and watch TikToks.
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna respond to no text messages. I'm probably not gonna look at my email unless it's something urgent. Like I don't know what it is, but like when I lay down at night and I turn the lights off and I'm just scrolling through TikTok in bed, like that's my happy place, dog.
Bro, you probably the most happiest person at that hour. Like that hour, just TikTok. You just like unbothered, most comfortable. Probably got the toes out.
Just cracking up too, dog. TikTok is funny, yo.
TikTok
These little
is
kids
funny.
on TikTok are hilarious.
TikTok is funny. Okay, so we got I already asked you, but we got this could go into this. It's crazy. 25 hours. You got 25 hours in a day, so they gave you an extra hour. How do you spend the extra hour?
I'm definitely going to sleep.
Going to sleep?
I'm 100% going to sleep, dog. I've never been a morning person. Like I physically don't have that in me.
Yeah.
And so every morning I'm peeling myself out of bed. Man. So I'll take the extra hour of sleep.
I feel you. I'm definitely not a morning person. I can't wait till the day I can just start my day at 11:30 every day.
No, and like my dad has like been like owning his own business since we moved back to Columbia in like the early 2000s, and so like he'll text me or call me at like 2:00 in the afternoon just like to check in, like, oh, how your day going? I'm like, I'm in the middle of my work. They're like, you just getting your day started? Like that's what I aspire to. I'm not taking any meetings before noon.
Man, no cap, man. I can't
One
do
of these
it,
days.
I need to get. I got to be rolling out the bed at 11:30. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not fully functional until the sun like done been up for hours at a time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Last one. What's the quality people enjoy about you?
I think people think I'm funny, even though sometimes when I'm trying to be serious, I come off as funny. Like it's a blessing and a curse when sometimes like I may be trying to have a serious moment and like people will bust out laughing. But also like if I'm trying to be funny, I think I'm funny sometimes too.
But that is I can agree with that, bro. You funny, man. Just by sitting here talking to you, this last little portion of the podcast has been hilarious. And so, man, like I said, man, thank you. That's all the questions we got, man. It was a pleasure just getting to sit down and talk with you, man. Hopefully, whatever, happens, if there's anything that, we could do, I love to say like, in 5 years from now, if we could get, maybe get you to come back on and just tell us about the development and things that you learned from now to 5 years from now, because game can be taught at any time. You know what I'm saying? Game comes with time and experience. And if we can help anybody just alleviate pain and a little bit of stress and hitting their head against the wall a couple of times, I'm all for it, because that's how we continue to grow at a very rapid rate. And that's just what I'm all about, man. So hopefully if anything happened, we can get that going, 5 years from now. That's a long time from now, but 5 years from now. But who you got as far as recommendations go?
So I got a couple different people. For sure, you should reach out to our team photographer, Chanel Smith-Walker. Okay. Like I said, one of only 2 African-American team photographers in the NFL. Chanel is, I would venture to say, probably the most decorated Black creative in the game right now.
Yeah.
She's been at Tennessee. She's been at NC State. She's been at Baylor. And now she's at the Panthers. And, like, Chanel is just, like, beyond being an incredibly talented photographer and graphic designer, is also just a dope person to talk to.
Yeah.
So would definitely recommend Chanel. And then also my guy, Eichel Davis, who's director of video production at Cincinnati right now. Yeah. Eichel does an amazing job of like bringing long form storytelling to social, which a lot of people will tell you like, this is industry talk, so feel free to cut all this out. But like a lot of people
keep going.
A lot of people will tell you that like long form storytelling cannot live on social media because people's attention spans are too short.
Right.
So when I say long form, I mean like content that's longer than a minute, 90 seconds. Yeah. Like a 5-minute video feature on a certain player and how he grew up and how that's shaped his life, something like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people will tell you that kind of content cannot live on social because people's attention spans are too short.
Yep.
Eichel has found a way to do that and do it extremely well. And, you know, he's got a few different series that he manages now at Cincinnati. He was doing a similar thing with baseball when he was at TCU. And he's just an incredibly talented storyteller. He's also just like a dope person. Like, that's my guy. So definitely recommend you talk to them.
That's hard, man. Listen, I want to talk to them both, man. So please let me get their information. Hopefully after this call, as far as like how I can get in contact with them, and I'm gonna work that out and just, you know, get them booked. You know, maybe not for this month, maybe not next month, but just whenever they're available, because I know you guys are busy all the time. But I will definitely want to pick his brain as far as getting that longer content and making it pop on social media. I'm pretty sure there's some type of method to his madness, and that'll be super dope. But man, Alex, it's been great. I'm gonna give you back the rest of your night, man. We appreciate you, man, and hopefully we'll highlight you on the, you know, Instagram. And if anybody has questions or, you know, maybe, you know, want to know more, hopefully, you know, I'm pretty sure Alex will be open that you guys can maybe DM him. He's busy, so don't rush him, all right? You got to tell black people.
I'll just say, if I don't respond right away, please don't be insulted. Keep messaging me. I'll get back to it eventually, I promise.
You got to tell black people, listen, look, I got a job, and I can't just stop everything I'm doing to answer your question. But I'm going to get to it, though.
Eventually, I'm going to get to it. Something like, bro, I have learned the value of, like, not doing anything sometimes. Like, people ask me what you do, and be like, nothing. But, like, doing nothing is doing something. Yeah. So, like, if I set aside time to do nothing, that's my time to do nothing. Like, no disrespect to y'all. No disrespect. Like, there's still value in what you're trying to get me to do. But, like, I got to be able to turn my brain off at some point, too.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm struggling with that as we speak, as far as just, like, my mind constantly runs, like,
you better learn to tell folk no.
Overdrive, man. Like, it's like, and then I be listening, and then I get mad at, because I got friends that with iPhone, it shows you, like, do not disturb, like, this person is not receiving notifications. And I get mad because, like, man, why you got this on, man? You could at least answer the text. But then I'm like, I need to use it, so because I'm tripping over here, like, my mind going, I need to put my phone on do not disturb. So it's crazy.
No, the best thing I could have done for myself, I started doing this when I was at Maryland. At 10 o'clock, my phone goes on do not disturb. And if you are not immediate family or like super close friends or my boss or the head coach, your call is not going to go through.
That's crazy.
Like, I need that. You got to start setting boundaries, dog.
I need that for sure. I need it. Well, man, thank you so much, man. I'm going to let you go. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. If you know, whatever the case may be, like, the podcast is always open for any guest. Oh, and I'm gonna hit you up. I might need like an address because I'm sending out gifts to all my guests. So I'm gonna send you, you know, once I get the gift in, I'm gonna start sending those out. So I'll reach out to you again, man. And like I said, if there's anything you need, anything I can do, feel free to reach out. And thank you.
Appreciate you having me, man. And always down to do stuff like this. If you ever, want me to come back or just want to chop it up about anything else outside of the pod, you got my contact information. So just let me know, man.
Man, no doubt, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, you too, bro.